Okay, everybody, man, it's been a while since I made a video. Um, I haven't even read the text that I'm about to talk about, so I'm totally half-assing it right now. But I was channeling the other day, and I realized I have a correction of what I said. One of the things I was saying earlier, and this was about Joseph's father, right? But before we talk about that, like I've been like, oh my god, ever since I started reading these Sumerian stories, it's like Moses knew these Sumerian stories. He totally did. And he agrees with this Sumerian wisdom, right? Now, of course, I misspeak because I talk about Sumerian stories, and each story needs to be judged on its own and by the author that wrote it, right? But the Sumerian stories that I've seen, have, Moses is all over these, right? And for instance, there's the time Moses went to um, the two Jews who were having an argument, and he's a juror, right? That's exactly what he is. He's the juror, and he's making his judgment in this case. Um, and he judges against one of the guys because he was acting toxic, right? This is about human behavior. And what is this? What is the Sumerian story? The descent of Inanna tell us about this sort of toxic behavior. Because when talking about toxic behavior, there's all types of different toxic behavior, right? Um, when confronting some toxic people, I think this probably qualifies for all toxic people. But if you criticize a toxic person, they will hate you for their entire lives. Now, of course, I like to exaggerate sometimes, but that last part might not be true for your entire lives. But mm, oh, beer, good. Okay, so so Moses criticizes this Jew for mistreating his fellow Jews, right? Now, of course, who are we dealing with? We're dealing with the commander of the Lord's army, right? So Moses is going out. He wants to correct this problem because, like one thing I've noticed recently is that like military people criticize a lot, and they don't mean anything bad by it. It's just that if they're on the battlefield, their lives are dependent on the competency of the man or woman next to them. So it's like they want to build them up so that they can live, right? And of course, some former military people might be bad criticism, toxic criticism. But Moses is going, and he wants to strengthen the bond between these two men, basically, right? Because he's going out there trying to lift his people up. That's why he gets involved. Inanna goes in because she's the Arish Kigal is her sister, and someone just died, and she wants to hang out and drink with her sister. But yeah, you do not. Uh, so like one of the things I want to talk about is like nowadays we would talk about plagiarism, right? Oh my goodness, Moses plagiarized these stories. No, he didn't plagiarize these stories. He just didn't agree with Babylonian oafishness, right? Because he's experienced this. This is not about like mystical spiritual wisdom. This is fucking science, right? If you criticize some people, they're going to hate you for it. If you criticize someone with a good heart, with a non-toxic heart, they'll love you for it if it leads to their betterment, right? And that's just the nature of reality, right? Moses tells us this. He's like, "Hey, learn human nature. Like that's the key to all this shit." Um But anyways, so one of the stories I was thinking about was in Genesis. I was channeling the other day, and this came in, and uh, it was about the father, and he had two sons, and one of the sons is, he likes to hunt. He's the raw military man, Ugh. And the other son, he's more gentle, right? All this other stuff, and he's going to give out the blessing, right? And you probably know the story. I haven't looked it up, but like every time I read this story, I was always critical of this guy. I was like, man, what an idiot. Why would he freaking do this? Um, I mean, obviously he should be giving the blessing to the son with the good heart, right? You cannot bless toxic people because they just, they're toxic. um, right, and I would praise the actions of his wife, the mother of these sons, because she wanted the blessing to go to the son with the better heart, right? But then I started, what I realized about this story was that the father, the whole time, was acting Sumerian, basically, because the elder son is very comparable to Ninurta, right? Now, again, like I said, there's different types of toxicity out there. One type of toxicity would be, just the haters, like Eresh Kagala, and this one Jew who is fucking with his fellow Jew, right? But then you have the toxic stupidity of the world, right? And Ninurta really represents toxic stupidity. And that's why when I was reading this story, I was like absolutely shocked. I'm like, what the fuck? Because this was written by a supposedly Sumerian religious person. And yet this, whoever wrote the Tales of Ninurta and all the Ninurta, or not all of the Ninurta stuff, but some of the ones I had read, um, whoever wrote this was being very impious because he was portraying Ninurta as a complete and stupid moron. He was. But I asked the question: does Ninurta have hatred in his heart? Right? It says in the Torah, God is a searcher of hearts, right? And I don't think he has hatred in his heart. I think he's just toxic stupid. And the funny part about the whole story is that you have the battle mace Kar-Ur, you have the god of wisdom. I think it's Enlil, possibly Ea. I forgot. Um, but whom I think we're talking about the father of Ninurta too, right? And what Kar-Ur and Enlil, and then there's a goddess who comes in. This might be Ninurta's mother, I don't know, sister, something, or just another goddess. But she totally comes in to the story, and she manipulates Ninurta so that Ninurta gives her his hard work and his labor, and he does it joyously, right? Um, and she's gaslighting him at one point, I think. Uh, this is exactly what the father of these two sons is doing, right? Think about this, right? If this son, and I don't know if this son is exactly like Ninurta, because again, he does sound toxic stupid, but you can also be toxic stupid and hateful too. Um, but like think about it. He's praising his toxic son, which is what the author of the Sumerian author says. hey, Ninurta, it is good to praise you, right? So this is, how do you deal with toxic people, right? So Ninurta is the type of toxic person that you should praise. I mean, Ereshkigal is the type of toxic person you should stay away from. But if you ever unfortunately encounter someone like Ereshkigal, then you praise them, and you pity them, and you feel sorrow for them. Um, so that's exactly what he's doing. Like if his son is underneath his own power, right? The elder son. If his son was out in the world somewhere with all that toxic stupidity in him, he might be hurting and harming others, right? So the father is shepherding his son, right? And and but you may ask, isn't he being mean to the good son, right? And this is why I'm making this video right now. This is what Moses wants out there right now. And I think it's brilliant, right? Because what he's doing is this goes back to the book of everything, right? AKA the book of Enoch. In the book of everything, these angels let down this rope, and you have to climb up that rope. And so he cannot hand his good-hearted son wisdom from a book, nor can he hand it in a video like I'm doing. Like, that's against the law, right? But I'm the prophet who likes to break the law. um, wisdom has to be earned, and so he purposely, like, this is a good-hearted man, but he's purposely setting up his sons against each other, right? And you may ask, well, when he does this, the good-hearted son may actually end up dead at the hands of the bad-hearted son. But the answer to that is that Jews are supposed to give their children over to God, right? And if the child dies, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Like, this is a different type of wisdom. It's a different type of fatherhood, right? It's a different type of rabbi. It's because, again, it's all about not creating artificial men. And by trying to give someone wisdom in a book or a video, you're creating artificial men, right? Wisdom, you can't be given to you. It has to engender itself from within. Okay, but the correction is with Joseph. But I want to talk about something else. Okay, let's see here. Oh, there was this other story in Genesis, right? And this is actually what I started channeling with in the beginning, right? I love this story. It's funny. But this is the story about, I may have talked about it before, but this is a story about one of the Jews sent his sons to where? He sent them to Sumeria, right? Where Abraham is from, Sumeria. And he sent them to Samaria in order to look for a woman, right? Because, I mean, Sumerian society is going to be pretty hilarious, right? Because not everybody gets this author. Not all the Sumerians get this author that's writing the Tales of Ninurta or the Descent of Inanna. They're not going to get it. So you're going to have some wise people in Sumeria, and you're going to have a lot of Ninurtas, right? But in a situation like this, when the Ninurtas outweigh the wise men, when there are not enough good shepherds, because that's exactly what I'm saying these Sumerians are doing. They're shepherding, but they're shepherding on a different way, right? Because if you talk to most psychologists today, like none of them, like all of them, would tell you the good advice to stay away from a narcissist. But not the Sumerians. The Sumerians are saying, no, hey, praise that narcissist. I mean, that father is sitting back and he's eating like the best meats. Like tee hee hee. This is like, this father turns into like a silly wise man character, right? But but if you want to find a good woman, then you need a woman who is raised properly, right? And the best women are going to be raised in Sumeria. Now, of course, there's probably a lot of bad ones, but these Jews have family connections in Sumeria, so they know where to send. He knows where to send his son in order to find a good wife, right? Because again, if you treat women like weak little princesses, then that's how they'll behave, and they'll end up literally and figuratively eating your children, without knowing it most of the time. So he sends his son to Sumeria, right? And what happens? The father-in-law starts to cheat him, starts to cheat the hell out of him. And again, this is more Sumerian stuff, right? He's testing him, right? Within the Torah and within Sumerian wisdom, we can really see divine feminine power, right? Because with women, right? Women, what do they do? Women just naturally test others, like they do. This is just a part of the nature of women. They test and test, and if the woman is foolish, then the test is going to be foolish, right? So just because they test doesn't mean the tests are going to lead anywhere. But this is what the father-in-law is doing to his son-in-law, and he said, and he like, think about, like, this is his thought process, right? His thought process is, I'm going to cheat the hell out of my son-in-law, and if he allows me to cheat him, then he has no business raising my daughters and my grandkids, because he's going to get them killed in a stupid way, right? We all die, and it's all like a part of the grand blessings and curses that sometimes are a part of us, the generational curses. So sometimes, good people do die prematurely, but he doesn't want his daughter and his grandchildren to be, led by an idiot. So he's gonna cheat him. He's gonna use his son-in-law in the same way that Ninurta was used. And Ninurta is the golden rube, right? I mean, that scene where that Jewish father is eating that son's meat, and he's just like, "Oh, I love this meat. This is great. You're the greatest son ever." It's a funny scene. He's using his son like a rube through false praise. Now, so what does this guy do? Well, what most people don't understand is that animals are like humans. They have individual behavior, and there's some animals out there who are narcissistic as hell and do not have a single drop of love within them. There are other animals that are extremely loving, and everything in between, right? Just like the rest of us. Most of us are all in between, in different ways to different degrees. But so what he does to these animals is like, if you look at how animals treat each other, if you have a toxic animal, that toxic animal is going to be hurting his fellow animals. And that's exactly what he does. This Jew, what he does is he goes to all of the toxic animals and he just loves the shit out of them. And like there were these goats that I was around one time, not pretty recently, and every time these goats got fed, there was this one male goat, and he would just and these are his wives and children, but he's like bumping them out of the way so that he can eat first. Like that's toxic behavior. And so he's allowing these innocent animals to be harmed by the toxic animals. Therefore, these innocent animals are going to have blemishes all over them, bruises, cuts. You know, he might actually be cutting them himself, maybe. But oh my goodness, it's funny as hell. So because he leaves his father-in-law all of the narcissists and the haters and the assholes amongst the animal population. And the day he does that, this father-in-law is so proud of him, and he can now release his daughters and his grandchildren with an okay heart. And that's why he was so excited and happy that all this happened. Like when he was running away from his father-in-law, like you, the reader, right, as Moses designed, are like, oh my goodness, you know, he's gonna hunt him down and kill him, you know. No, he hunted him down and celebrated with him. He's like, hell yes, you know, this is priest of Melchizedek type shit right here. Okay, so how long are we? Too long already. So let's get into the correction. The correction is, I believe, and again, I need to like read this, but I'm doing other things right now. The correction is that when I was talking about Joseph, right, I was really criticizing Joseph's father. I was just boop, 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 boop. And I think all my criticisms are spot on. But this is exactly how the book was written, right? When you read the father and those two sons, and you put a spirit, because this is all about putting different spirits into the words and putting different spirits into the characters. If you put, you know, your normal spirit into the words, then you're going to be critical of this father, right? But if you put a different spirit into him, if you're like, wait a minute, this guy might be a wise man. If he is wise, what is he doing? And the spirit of many of these men and many of the Sumerians is that of the silly wise man. Like this, a lot of this stuff is just silly. It's childlike and innocent, right? But that is what Joseph's father did. He pitted his favorite son up against all his other 11 sons. And that could have led to his son's death easily. And it almost did. Right? But just like Abraham before him, he gives his children up to God. They'll die when they die. But he wanted his youngest son to learn wisdom. So he's purposely pitting the freaking, you know, I mean, oh my goodness. But it makes sense because he wants him to be wise, but and he can't give anybody that wisdom. They have to learn it for themselves. You know, just like the book of everything says, you know, those who are chosen are those who climb. Period. It's about admiration, right? Yahweh wants to admire us, you know, not pity us, you know, and it's about the choices we make. You know, Ninurta is called to be Ensi, right? He's called to be a priest king. He's not called to be a king, but when people don't, live admirably, sometimes you have to treat them like sheep. Or wolves, depending on the type of toxicity. Um, anyways, la 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 la. Yeah, so total correction. Totally apologize to Joseph's father for saying all that stuff. Um, but again, I'm half-assing this because I'm doing other things right now. And I don't have time to fucking read that shit. Oh, but there's something else I want to say before I end this. Okay, so if I take something from you that you do not want to give to me, that is theft. If I take something from you that you do not want to give to me, that is theft. Now, if I said, "Oh, but the Lord commands you to give it to me," then that's probably a higher degree theft, right? um, if we're in a court of law, right? This is I don't know, theft and something else. Just throw the book at them, right? But Moses was a thief because he stole from the Egyptians. Right, and this is why I love Moses, because he puts out these 10 commandments and then he breaks all of them. Right? But the first law is about the heart. Right, Moses' laws are all about the heart. It's not about some materialistic worldly victory. It's all about love and bravery and wisdom. And so, like, Moses' thinking is very simple. He's setting down the law, and these Jews have had, all of their wealth stolen from them by the Egyptians. All of their hard work was taken away from them, in the same way Ninurta's hard work was taken away from him. And so he's just doing reparations, right? That's exactly what he did. It wasn't theft. These leading Egyptians never earned most of their money. They either stole it or it was handed down to them by mommy and daddy. But they did not earn it. And so there's no theft involved, right? Moses is not about, like, oh my God. And this video is already too long, but that's actually one of the lessons of Joseph too. Like, what should a Joseph have done when that woman wanted to sleep with him? He should have slept with her. That would have been Sumerian wisdom. Because he's not coveting her at all. In fact, just the opposite. He thinks this woman is disgusting. Right? But he's in a bad situation because he's living in a home that is unpure. And a home that is unpure can be the death of you. And so he's already in a bad situation. But if you reject, and again, this goes to human nature. Like, if you sexually reject a woman, oh my God, like, she's now your enemy for life, right? So yeah, he fucked up because that's the lesson. He should have slept with her, right? The Torah is a ninja scroll. And so yeah, no, Moses is he's beautiful writings because they're just so complex, but it's not that he's stealing from these Sumerians. or these Sumerian stories. It's just that, no, that's fucking human nature, right? Like, we're talking about human nature. Um, so he's not plagiarizing these Sumerian stories. He agrees with Sumerian wisdom, and he vehemently disagrees with so-called Babylonian wisdom, standing in the street and calling another man a sinner. Babylonian oafishness disguised as wisdom, right? Um, you know what? I think that's it.